Hello, I'm Mary Brett, the resident doer of things. Thank you for being here. At the Doers of Things, we intend to share conversations with you that demystify the creative process and humanize the journey, which are just fancy ways of saying we hope you get inspired to go out and do the things that bring you joy after hearing a fellow human share how and why they do what they do. We are all innate creators, curating our reality with every thought, word, and action. My guests all have different stories, backgrounds, and passions, but the one thing they hold in common is that they do the things that nurture the reality they want to live. They all just started somewhere and kept doing. Today, we're going to share a conversation had with longtime big-time songwriter in Nashville, Radney Foster. But first, I want to let you know that this is a value-for-value, pay-what-you-wish, give-what-you-can, free will investment model listening experience. That means you get to choose what you contribute in time, talent, or treasure to reflect the amount of value you get from listening to the Doers of Things. No donation is too small, and all donations help produce the show. Head over to thedoersofthings.com to learn more in the Contribute tab. Now for this episode's conversation with Radney Foster. If you are any fan of Texas country, 90s country, or early Americana, Radney Foster should be a well-cemented name with hits like Nobody Wins and Just Call Me Lonesome. He's had his songs recorded by Gary Allan, Sarah Evans, Keith Urban, Hootie and the Blowfish, and Jack Ingram. He's also produced 2 albums for the Randy Rogers Band, written a book of short stories paired with an album of songs called For You to See the Stars, starred in a country musical called Troubadour, as well as made a cameo on the film Beauty Mark. But for me, the only accolade I needed to be over the moon for this interview was that Radney Foster is not only a personal inspiration as a songwriter, but he is one of my dad's favorites, and he raised me on Foster's music. Here is our conversation had on May 10th, 2023, backstage at Main Street Crossing in Tomball, Texas, while Foster was on tour celebrating 20 years of his debut album, Del Rio, Texas, 1959.
So, Radney McElroy Foster, Del Rio, Texas, 1959. Mary Brett Stringer here, Corpus Christi, Texas, 1986.
Okay.
It is a real honor to have some of your time and meet you. I'm trying not to lose myself over here.
It's okay. You're good. That's all right.
Because briefly explain how I just kind of randomly ended up with this radio show this past summer, and when I came back home in September, I just went into doing interviews because I was just doing my music, and then so I'm just throwing spaghetti on the wall to see who's willing to chat with me. And
I love Alaska, by the way. I've been there many times. Well, twice. So.
Oh, did you get to go to Kodiak, the island?
No, but I've been to Bristol Bay.
Okay.
And then when I was in Foster and Lloyd in 1988, we played the Southeast Alaska State Fair in Skagway.
Okay.
And in Haines.
All right.
Yeah, and so I got to visit them, and so I've been up there twice, and it's amazing, and it's so huge. It's like saying I love Alaska, like saying I love Texas. Is like what part?
Right. Exactly.
What exactly? It can be really, because Del Rio, where I live, it's really very different than it is here in Houston, Texas.
Totally. I've gotten to go to Alaska twice now for work. Once for working for the Boy Scouts in 2016, and then this last summer.
Oh, cool.
And it is the prettiest place
It's amazing.
ever been.
It's just stunning. The wildness of it was kind of ever present and overwhelming.
Do you ever see yourself going back for fun
Oh, sure.
or business?
Oh, yeah. I'm a avid fly fisherman. So
okay.
and and was a forestry and geology major in college. So the whole outdoors thing is kind of in my blood.
So you already answered one of my questions there, which was what were you studying in school? Because I didn't find that anywhere.
Yeah, I had the music, got in the way. I always dreamed of that maybe I could play professionally or do something like that. When you're a kid in high school or in junior high school, and you're trying to wear your guitar like Elvis.
Yeah.
In front of the mirror. But real people don't do that.
Right.
So I assumed that my lot in life was to, I grew up in my grandfather's house next to my great-grandfather's house. And my father was a lawyer. His father and all of his uncles were lawyers. His grandfather, my great-grandfather, was the first lawyer in town.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, it's just kind of like, I kind of knew, it's
Yeah.
like, your lot in life is to, kind of go to law school and come take over the family business kind
Right.
of thing, right? But I was always writing songs, always playing in bands. And I was playing in a band in college, and my junior year, and a guy came, and we were kind of like the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
Okay.
I was really influenced by the country rock stuff from, I had to list singers. I mean, I certainly would list like, traditional country singers like Merle Haggard or Johnny Cash as sort of vocal icons to think about. But Graham Parsons and Jeff Hanna, who was the lead singer for the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, I mean, those guys were really influences on how I sing and how I really approached the whole thing. And so we would rock up a country song, or we would country up a rock song.
Okay.
And we did everything from dirt band songs to Guy Clark songs to that kind of thing. We're Americana before it was Americana.
Yeah.
And so we get through with our set at college, and this guy comes up to us, and he says, "Hey, who wrote those 3 songs? Because I know all the other songs." And one of the guys said, "You can't get them, our singer wrote them." And he said, "Man, I don't know jack shit about you can bleep that out if it's radio." Or I'll just repeat it. I don't know jack about the music business, but I got a buddy who I went to college with, who's a big time producer in Nashville. I'm like, sure.
Sure
Yeah,
you did.
yeah, sure you
Everybody
do.
does.
Yeah, everybody's got one of those, right?
Yeah.
So I write my name down and my phone number in a matchbook.
Okay. Classic.
And it's the dorm phone number. It's the payphone at the end of the hall. Because I'm not going to give my parents' number.
Yeah.
And so, sure enough, 2 weeks later, tacked on my door was a note, and it said "Call Brown Bannister," and it had a 615 area code. It had a Nashville area code. And I was like, why do I know that? It's like, and all of a sudden I went, that guy who was drunk might not have been kidding.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, why do I know that name? Why do I know that name? And so I went, oh, being a kid who reads liner notes all the time,
Yeah.
there was this new ingenue coming out of contemporary Christian music named Amy Grant, that every girl had it in her dorm, had that first album out, and it was produced by a guy named Brown Bannister. So I was like, oh my God, that's a real guy. So I went and played 5 songs for Brown, and he said, you got to have serious talk with your mom and dad about doing this for a living. And so that made me finagle permission to take a year off from college, and thinking I was going to be the next Elvis. I was 21, and which did not happen. Nothing happened in that year other than I had one publisher who wouldn't throw me out of his office at the end of that year.
Hey, that is success.
That's success.
Yeah.
That really, it seemed, at the time I felt like dejected that I had to go back and finish school, but also there's a part of me that's like, this is so hard that I should go back and finish my degree, because if this doesn't work out, at least you got something you can hang your, and it's going to take a lot longer than I think it is.
Yeah.
So, but I could go every couple of weeks and call him up and say, hey, I got a couple new songs. And he goes, okay, well, I can't do it this Friday, but come see me next Friday. And I'd go playing songs, and that was success. That was something. That was not,
You were planting seeds.
Yeah, right. You had one real legitimate publisher who was, who would tell you, like, when it's like, well, for the next month I'm looking for the Bellamy Brothers, so there you go. Go tear a bunch of Bellamy Brothers songs apart and see what makes them tick. See if you can't write one. And I was like, okay. So that was a real education.
What made you then, after you finished your degree, to then say, well, I'm not going to use this degree. I had the bug, It's like, when I was leaving, when I was leaving Del Rio, I'd packed the first time, to go take this year off and go to Nashville. And
fact, my mother's best friend, one of her best friends, Sarah Winters, she taught school with Sarah, and Sarah made me a banana bread for the trip.
Oh.
And she said, Radney, you got to be careful about that music business. It's just like rodeo, and it'll get in your blood, and you can't get it out. And she was right.
Yeah.
You know, and so but they kind of bugged me. So I got 90 miles down the 1200 I had to drive, and I pulled the car over, and just outside of San Antonio, and I wrote down a verse, and it's the first verse to Texas and Indy.
Nice.
You know, and it took me 7 more years to write that song. You know, it haunted me for that long.
How do you know which songs, and I guess you kind of just answered it there, that they're haunting you, the ones that, like, I should still keep this in the back pocket and still kind of come back and work on this, and then are there songs where you're just like, I'm never going to do anything with that ever, and that thing is
Oh, sure.
gone?
Yeah. There's some, I don't know. There's some everyone you finish, it's like, I just wrote the greatest song in the whole wide world. You're on such a high.
Yeah.
And really, you got to stick it in a drawer for a couple of weeks and then go back to it and go, that's still a pretty good song.
Yeah.
Or, that's an okay song, but I can't hear anybody singing it, myself included.
Yeah.
You know, and I had a great first publisher. I signed with. It took me 5 years. You know, I was in Nashville, knocking around for 5 years.
She was plugging away at open mics and wherever
Oh yeah,
you can get.
oh yeah,
And
I got a couple of single song contracts on songs.
okay.
You know, they'd say, yeah, we'll take that song. We'll take it for. We'll do just an acoustic demo, and we'll take it for 2 years. If we get it cut, we own half the publishing. Or, you know, if we're going to do a demo on it, we'll take it, but we want all the publishing. We pay for the demo. We go, okay, it's better than what I got going on.
Right.
You know, and so I was doing that, and I got signed to Mary Tyler Moore Music. She'd made so much money in television that, you know, she was
Might as well do something
right,
else. Yeah.
Right. And I think she also found out how much the theme song to Mary Tyler Moore actually made. And went, oh no, I'm expanding my business.
Yeah.
But it was kind of weird and cool that we would get first access to all these TV shows that were being made through through the MTM production company. You know, they'd be wanting theme songs, and they're like, everybody would sit around and write their theme songs. You know, but I had a great publisher, Meredith Stewart, who hauled me into her office 6 months after I had signed, and which was weird. And I thought, oh God, I'm going to get fired. I hadn't even made it 6 months, and they're just going to can me. You know, this is gone. And she said, come on in and close the door. And I said, oh shit, I really am getting fired.
You're really in trouble.
Yeah. And so she said, I'm not really happy with the songs that you've been writing after the songwriters meetings. I was like, oh my God. So I'm ending at this point. And she said, but I love what you've been writing in your apartment by yourself at home.
Oh.
She said, I think the meetings confuse you. I don't want you to come to them anymore.
Okay.
You figure out what you want to write about, and I'll find a home for it.
You gotta love that.
Oh yeah. Stop thinking about whether Dolly's cutting or, you know, anybody else. You know, just go write what you love. And then she said, and there's some magic happening between you and Bill Lloyd, and I want you guys to write a song a week. I want you guys every week to get together and try to write a new song, because there's something going on there that's really special. And she saw it.
Yeah.
So I came out of my meeting, you know, and went and found Bill, reading Billboard magazine or something, and said, hey man, we're supposed to write a song a week. Hey, my guy just told me the same thing, you know. So that's how we ended up with a band, you know.
Yeah.
They saw it before we saw it.
Well, those are good people.
Oh yeah,
People good
they're and they're rare as hen's teeth to see today in the modern world. People like that, hard to find. There are very few of them left.
Yeah, they're willing to let your artistry come out instead of worrying about a bottom line.
Yeah, they know that they can figure out a bottom line for it.
Yeah.
If you're really being true, if you're writing something that's you know, I know it's probably written by an actor, but there's a soliloquy in the Johnny Cash movie, the Reese Witherspoon, Joaquin Phoenix, and but it's where Sam Phillips is looking at this young Johnny Cash, and he's saying, there's a guy gets hit by a truck and he's laying in the road and he wants to hear a song. You got one chance to play him a song as he's about to die. Is that old Jimmy Martin song what you're really going to play him? Or are you going to write something that you really believe in with every single thing that you are? Because that's what's going to move him from this world to the next. And you just go, whoa, okay, yeah. But it's true. I mean, it's that. If I don't believe it, why would anybody else?
Totally. So you do a lot of co-writing. What would you say the balance is between songs that you write that are just you and then your collaborations? What's that split?
The split is probably, 80-20 to 80% with other people, 20%. But what happens to them is probably more closer to 60-40 or 50-50. Yeah. Because it's like I've had, if you look at my records, there's probably 4 on just consistently over the years of my records. Yeah. And then it'd be like, oh, well, he wrote 4 or 5 of them and 5 or 6 of them, he wrote with other people. And then if you look at the success I had too, it kind of went the same way as far as other people cutting my songs. So I probably should spend more time just writing. I have, as I've gotten older, I spend more time writing by myself.
Do you just prefer collaborating more, that whole process of energy exchange, or? Yeah,
it's such a different way to write. I think it's, and writing songs by yourself is a whole lot more akin to writing this kind of stuff.
Okay.
I'm holding up a book of short fiction. Writing, it's a longer experience. It's a little bit lonelier experience. It can be a frustrating experience, but the high you get from when you've really told a story well, or you've really, you've rewritten 500 words in a key spot in a story, and it's singing. That's going to move people. Yeah. There's a brain and a heart and a soul connection that's very exciting and alluring. And co-writing a song is kind of like group therapy. You just you're sitting there. It's like it is the exchange of ideas, and it's a social thing. But you have to get past. You got to get down to where all the principles are in the room, or whether it's 2 or 3 of you. These days, goodness gracious, people are writing songs with 5 and 6 people.
I don't understand.
I don't even know how that works.
That's way too much.
I don't even know how that works. I do know sometimes how it happens, because that becomes political. It's like you write a song with a guy, and then the artist and the producer want to rewrite it to fit the artist more. And sometimes it's just like, really? Because I don't need anybody to help me. And I turned those down before. Yeah. And they cut it anyway, And then I've also had situations where that song's been sitting there for 10 years, and listening to the artist's explanation of why he or she can't sing the second verse. I go, okay, you got to figure out how to make the second verse your own. All right, here, take a crack at it. Otherwise, it's just going to sit around.
Sitting there.
Yeah.
So talking about the exchange and the human stuff that's happening behind writing anything really, but we'll stick with music. What is your thoughts on this, like Chat GPT, AI, and the use of that?
I'm just finding out about that. I had a long conversation with a friend who just wrote a song and used that as a tool.
Right.
And he said at the end he felt like he should just pack his guitar and go home and he's been in Nashville for 20 some odd years. He should just go, leave it alone, and move back to Denver. I have not used it in any of the songwriting things. And my discussion with him was like, oh, it sounds like to me it takes all the fun part out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, the struggle for the right line is not a problem for me. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And so it is strange that you can say, write a song of this title in the style of Radney Foster, and it will spit out a chorus, 2 verses, and a bridge in seconds.
Yeah.
And then you can say, and you can read that, and it'll kind of talk like something I might have written. And you can say, no, write it in the style of Chris Stapleton, and it will spit you out a whole different scenario and song. Some of the lines will be pretty good, but I didn't get into this to cut and paste lines together.
Right.
I was always convinced by my mentors, and Guy Clark in particular, that your job was to go digging around in your soul, and then to come up with a piece of art. And whether or not it was a hit, that was just a byproduct.
Right.
And so that I don't know if it's going to affect me, but I can guarantee it's going to affect the music we hear for the next 10 years.
Totally. Do you think that there should be some sort of disclaimer, like a explicit sticker that sit on a
well,
says, hey, this was written with AI?
Well, I think the deeper question becomes, if it writes AI and you say, write it like Radney Foster, do you owe me something?
Oh, yeah, there's that.
Is it plagiarism?
Right. Yeah.
Write it in the form of Chris Christopherson.
Yeah.
Shouldn't Chris get
something?
Because even if you rewrite it because it's got clunkers in there and it doesn't quite fit the melody you have in your head and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's where you started, don't you owe that writer something?
This is a slippery.
I mean, it's a big can of worms.
Yeah.
It's a huge can of worms.
So one of the questions,
which for me is just another reason to go, you know what? I don't really need any help in figuring out how to write a song. I know that's a very proud thing to say, but I'm 63 and I've been doing it since I was, a kid, and I don't need any. I can figure out how to make another one.
Well, that definitely makes me feel good that you're not somebody that's like, oh, that'd be a great tool for me to use, that I can trust that you're an artist that wouldn't do that. Because if there is no disclaimer, there's a lot of just faith and trust that these artists, are maintaining some sort of integrity about
I can guarantee you that within the halls of sort of the grinding out songs, guys who write 200 songs a year, they're going to be under the pressure of like, you sit down with AI, with ChatGPT, and because they can write 3 songs in one day rather than writing 1 song one day.
Right.
And for a lot of things that they do, it's all about quantity.
Yeah.
And because if they write enough, if they write 200 of them,
at least
20 of them something might happen, and that's a good average. They write 205 of them happen, they might still get to make a living.
Yeah.
But it's at the expense of a whole lot of soul material today.
Totally. You're interacting with a machine now. You're not interacting with a human in a spirit.
Or you're not interacting with your own soul.
Yeah. So I will end it on saying how you believe that your job is to go digging around in your soul to find that common human thread that speaks to. What are some of the things you do that? How do you go digging?
I think you have to be honest about your past. You have to be sort of look through your highs and your lows and your joys and your tragedies and let that, be willing to let that be fodder for a piece of art. And that's can be difficult. It's like there are people in my life who know that they have had things written about them and that it's going to be on somebody's radio somewhere.
Yeah.
And that kind of comes with the relationship. And I'm telling you that I have met songwriters who, for better or worse, have often been self-destructive and because they knew it would feed the art.
Totally.
I mean, it's awful, but I've seen it, time and time again, and I just figure that joy and heartache happen enough on their own. I don't need to go looking for it. You just got to be willing to pay attention to it when it happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm so appreciative of your time and squeezing me in before the show.
Oh, thank you.
And I just hope that the anniversary of Del Rio, Texas, 1959 is going fun for you.
It's been a blast, and the audiences have been going nuts.
Oh, I bet.
To hear it. The first 10 songs in the set are this album, top to bottom. And
That's
then
special.
Yeah, and then I'll do like 7 or 8 other songs that have been hits or new things from For You to See the Stars. And I'll read a little bit from the book.
Oh, how cool.
So it's fun. It's always a fun show.
Well, I'm glad that you're still out doing your thing. I've grown up listening to you, and a real inspiration as a songwriter myself and stuff. And just
Thank you so much.
Really honored that you gave me some of your time.
Oh, man, I'm happy to do it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's nice to meet you, Mary Beth.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
If you listen to this podcast regularly, you will hear me talk about throwing spaghetti more than once. Sometimes I toss a noodle that I firmly expect to fall flat on the floor. Reaching out to someone like Radney Foster was a complete shot in the dark, and I was prepared for it to miss the mark. Yet, to my surprise, the noodle stuck to the wall and he agreed to chat with me. I was hoping to get 45 minutes to an hour with Radney Foster, but the little over 20 minutes we had together learning more about his trajectory was way more than I ever thought I'd get, and I was and still am beyond grateful. Especially without yet having released this here podcast and just having the KMXT Alaska radio show to sell them on. If you don't know the story of how this podcast came as a spinoff of that radio show, go to thedoersofthings.com in the Writings tab to read all about it. They say you should never meet your heroes, and I can understand why, but I'm glad Radney Foster didn't prove that expression to be unquestionable advice, because he was down-to-earth, funny, and gracious. He even made sure I could stay and see the show, which was a super treat getting to hear Del Rio, Texas, 1959 from top to bottom, the songs I can remember hearing as a kid driving around with my dad. If that wasn't enough, Radney letting me know I had great questions and he'd be willing to talk to me again sent me off on a super high with another permission slip to keep on the journey to make this podcast happen. Maybe someday we will get another chance to chat, and I can go deeper into his process and how he goes digging around in his soul. And if so, you can be sure to hear it here on the Doers of Things. But if I never get the opportunity to sit down with this accomplished songwriter and musician again, I hope you got as much inspiration out of hearing his story of going against the family grain of law for a life that spoke to his passions as I did. Thank you for tuning in to episode 6 with Radney Foster on the Doers of Things. I just want to remind you of the value for value model this listening experience runs on. My current pledge to you is to never have sponsorship ads or corporate commercials. I also have no plans on creating tiered content or a subscription fee that prices people out of the experience of hearing their fellow humans share their stories. All content is for all people all the time. I can do that with your help as a producer of the show via your time, talent, and treasure. So if you enjoy the show, please consider becoming a producer to whatever level you can. Head on over to thedoersofthings.com in the Contribute tab to learn more about how you can jump on board. Until next time you tune in to the Doers of Things, I'm Mary Brett saying, how do you go digging around in your soul?